All right, here we are with our March Madness preview, the day we've been waiting for. Um,
Feels like it came pretty quick.
yeah, yeah, it comes fast, it leaves fast.
Yeah,
That's
I
why
know.
we hope that Duke does not go out early because it's a long waiting soon.
A long struggle.
So let me ask you, instead of in general, give me your um, your biggest I don't want to get too much. We'll get in brackets in a second.
hmm
But give me like your biggest, um, just something that's been on your mind. Give me the thing that sort of been on your mind the most since seeing the bracket.
I mean, I don't know. I guess the biggest thing that's been on my mind is UConn going to repeat. Everybody seems to think that, but I mean, they have an incredibly tough bracket
Hmm.
to go through. They're going to have to beat Northwestern, Auburn, maybe Illinois, Iowa State. I mean, everybody's got their tough region, but it'll be tough for UConn. Then I think the other question that a lot of people are worrying about is all the Jayhawk fans out there
Yeah,
is Kansas going to be fully healthy to make a run, or will they get beat first round? But I think there's a lot of teams that can definitely win it. I know UConn and Houston are favorites, but it's going to be crazy like always.
yeah. I mean, I think you might have been overstepping the bounds a little bit, asking. Um, I think there's going to be some FAU fans out there that are going to pick the FAU Northwestern, uh,
Yeah.
have FAU up against UConn. I mean, that's not what
I
I
so
had because
yeah,
we are Boo Booey fans on this.
yeah, I just don't like FAU, so I'm just going to root against them.
Yeah,
But I thought FAU was seeded high too. I thought they were
yeah,
more of a 10 seed first four.
yeah,
Um, who else? I think Gonzaga's a little high. I think Dayton's a
yeah.
little high. Again, committee doesn't show love to the Mountain West, rightfully so
Oh
though.
my
But
goodness, yeah,
a lot of people thought Boise State and Colorado were comfortably in. Um, but that is not the case. And then I kind of groaned when I saw Boise State and Colorado in the first four because I'm getting sick of watching Mountain West teams year after year in the first four.
yeah. And I know.
Uh,
And, I mean, even New Mexico was close to. They said New Mexico, if they hadn't won the tournament, they weren't going to get in.
yeah, so Richard Pitino stole his dad's bid, so I'd rather him be
Yep,
the Pitino that's playing.
yep.
And your
But yeah,
impressions?
I mean, I agree with all those things in terms of the seating and stuff.
Uh-huh.
Um, I think I was just listening to a podcast and I agree with what they were saying,
hmm
although I there's a part of me that I think we're going to disagree come tournament time, but they were really critical of Michigan State being a 9 seed, a 14
Lost team,
loss
yep.
team, being a 9 seed. I think Michigan State will. I think they'll beat Mississippi State. I just think
hmm
that Tom Izzo knows what he's doing come tournament time.
Dare I
But
say they beat North Carolina?
no,
Because that would
no.
be a typical Izzo thing to do.
It would be, and I might go back and pick it. Just I might not pick it because I feel like if I pick it's not going to happen.
If anybody can upset UNC early, it's either Michigan State or Chris Jans' team because those are two very physical teams, and
Yeah,
UNC did not do well at physicality Saturday night.
yeah. But yeah, I agree with most of those things. I'd say the other thing, um, that kind of really stood out to me was, I mean, just uh, a lot of big names in our South region,
hmm
and then also just a lot of big names, kind of as lower seeds. Like
hmm
potential threat. A Duke, Kentucky, a Wisconsin. Um, if I roll down here, Gonzaga, Kansas. Kind of
Mm,
these
yep.
perennial, like really solid teams up in that 3, 4, 5 range.
Yep. Definitely.
Which either I mean means that the landscape of college basketball is definitely changing,
Hmm.
but I also think that with the talent on those teams, I would be nervous, right? If I was
Hmm.
a kind of a little bit higher seed that was hoping to maybe not see a Kentucky
Sure.
until a
Yep.
Final Four or something like
Yeah.
that.
Elite Eight. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's interesting. I think you mentioned Gonzaga, and I think it's well. We'll get to that region eventually, but I think it's interesting. Even though Gonzaga seems to be, in my opinion, a little overseeded, I mean, they can still make a run. They've got a favorable side of the bracket because I'm not quite sure if Kansas will make it past Samford, and then honestly, I'm not really sure if Purdue will make it past TCU if TCU wins.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, we can get to that. Get to that. Um, I do want to ask you after seeing all the one seeds. Um, I don't think any of us were surprised. Maybe a little about UNC. It was that Tennessee UNC flip flop. But who's your first one seed that's going to lose?
The Houston Cougars.
Okay. When?
To what's Texas A&M's mascot?
There we go. There we go. I'd love to hear it.
Yeah,
I
I
have
I
that
think
too.
I think Houston. What so Houston's been dominant in what most people think is the best league in basketball.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I was really we talked a while back about teams that were really good at something but
Mm-hmm.
not good at something else.
Yep.
And Houston getting blown out over the
Yeah.
weekend or later in the week where it was
Yep.
um, really showed me they just can't score. And now they can score
Yeah.
better than Virginia, um,
Mm-hmm.
but it if you run into a team that you can't outmuscle, that I
Mm-hmm.
think is comfortable playing teams just like you, um, and can put the ball in the hoop. And Texas A&M, even though I mean, I only watched part of their game when they lost to was it Florida?
Yeah. Florida. Yep.
Um, but it wasn't that they couldn't score, right? Like
Yeah.
because they had that big lead and they
Mm-hmm.
gave it away, but they still scored like 85 points or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So their offense has been clicking right now,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't think if Texas A&M plays like they played in the SEC tournament,
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Houston is like a clearly better team than they are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think it's interesting because we lost by one in December to Houston. And I mean, we didn't have Tyrese Radford. So you insert him in wherever, the game could change a little bit, but I honestly think that we can come out and win that game. If Anderson Garcia can stay on the floor and we can get some more production from other guys, but Manny Opaski has been huge for us the last month or so. I honestly think we could surprise a lot of people. I mean, I
Well,
like the
we're not going to surprise too many people.
yeah, they won't surprise me
Well, yeah,
or you.
they better not be surprising me.
I do like the matchup versus Nebraska. Nebraska is a good team, but I'm more comfortable matching up against Nebraska than I am against a Michigan State or you
Yeah,
know
I like.
a TCU.
Yep, I like A&M better than like I'd rather see him with Nebraska than like a Northwestern, a
Hmm.
TCU, a Utah State.
Yeah, I was surprised that we got a 9 seed. I thought we were more of the 10-11 range, so I guess
Hmm.
that was a pleasant surprise.
Um, all right, let's do a little bracket talking.
Yeah, let's.
I mean, should we
What
start? Should
region?
we start in
What,
South
what?
region?
Yeah, yeah. We'll start South region, the best region of this year's tournament.
Now, is there a I guess we get more of those specifics. Let me ask you real quick.
Hmm.
Let me pull it up here. Would you which one if you had to, which one of these would you flipped? So last four in we had Boise State, Colorado, Virginia, and Colorado State. and the first four out, we had Oklahoma, Seton Hall, Indiana State, and Pitt. I think if it's me, I'm probably taking. I might take Virginia out and put Seton Hall in.
I I would take Virginia out. Seton Hall was my first um, option, but then I was like, listen, I think that you have if I can yeah, I maybe not actually. I thought Oklahoma, but they lost it down the stretch.
Yeah.
Really, their only good win was Iowa State. I would have thought about Indiana State, just because their net was so high,
Hmm.
and I also would have thought about Pitt because they were playing. You know, and again, you run into North Carolina, you basically lose last minute. I mean, that's a tournament team right there. I was surprised to see Virginia in there. I really was.
Yeah. I
I
mean, I
thought it
think
was going to be an Oklahoma or a Pittsburgh. I think.
if you do the eye test, which I think is fair to do when
Hmm.
the teams are in the same conference,
Yeah,
I think if you put Pitt and Virginia on the court against each other, Pitt
yeah,
wins.
yeah. It's. I mean, yeah. You speak of the eye test, and it's like Virginia doesn't pass your eye test,
Hmm.
and
They're going to
again,
go to Elite Eight probably, but
it's going to be a question tomorrow: is can they limit Colorado State,
yep.
and can they score their own? Because I mean, yeah, sure. Are they perfectly capable of beating Colorado State and then going to beat Texas? Yes, but they are so ambiguous right now that you just can't tell.
Yeah, and I think that's what gets missed on some of these things where the if a team plays well, where that was criticized, people are like, "Oh, the committee got it right,"
Yeah,
but that doesn't mean they got it right. That just
yeah,
means that the team won some games. Just like if you have a team that if people are critical of the Mountain West or whatever, and they
mhm,
tank, it doesn't mean the Mountain West isn't good. It just means they
yeah.
had a bad tournament.
And I honestly think you have to put Virginia in because you put A&M in
Hmm.
because they have that win against A&M and then they have some other wins. And then, they really won, their games that they needed to down the stretch. And then I really think that's what if they had lost to BC, I
Yep.
think they would be out. But I think that one win really vaulted them in. I'm surprised they were not the last team in.
Hmm.
So I was shocked about that. But I think that'll be a good game tomorrow. Low scoring as always for Virginia, but what can you expect?
All right, so I made some picks. I might change them as we're talking, but
Okay.
um, I think we both probably have Houston advancing out of the 16-1.
Mm-hmm.
I
Bring it
am
up.
really
Bring it up.
happy
Bring your
that
bracket up. Let's see it.
you want me to put it out?
Let's put it out. Let's give it.
Okay,
Let's give it a sneak peek.
wait. Let me. I have to resubmit 'cause I just made a quick change to it. So, all right, let me push it out here. You'll be it. I'm not one that likes to go chalk.
We know you're going. We know you're going Duke. I'm not going to be surprised. Yeah, we know that. Wow, bold. All right, let's go to the south first. Let's go to the south. Let's do that first.
All right,
All
top
right,
half of
this
the
is what we
bracket.
get.
I'm this up here. Top half of the bracket.
Okay,
I got.
Houston.
I'm really. I'm. I think I am picking JMU out of like goodwill for Duke.
Hmm.
I'm not confident. Although Wisconsin's been so hot and cold all year.
Yeah,
Um.
I think Wisconsin's playing at the right time now.
Yeah.
Playing good at the right time. I think that will definitely. if they beat James, because it's like it's it's so weird because yes, James Madison beat Michigan State, but that was 33 games ago.
Yeah.
And so, you know, again, they have not played this level. I mean,
No.
You beat Wisconsin, then you're going to face Duke, and you
Yeah.
haven't played that all year. You know,
Yeah.
and I think that's interesting. I I think Wisconsin will win, but again, I would not be shocked. James Madison will probably come out and go on a big run
Hmm.
after halftime, and then they'll be up against Duke. I think Vermont will also give Duke a little bit of a hard time, but Duke will have enough to pull away. So
Yeah.
I think
I
we're
don't think I was gonna say I just don't think Vermont is explosive enough to
yep.
upset Duke. I think the teams
Hmm.
that have given Duke trouble in the past when in like the big upsets. Yeah, I think back to whoever it
Lehigh,
was when CJ McCollum.
yeah, Lehigh,
Um,
yep.
yeah, like when you have an explosive guard like that, that's hard to
Hmm.
control. And I just don't think
Sure,
Vermont has something like that. And I think
yeah.
Duke has better defenders. Whether or not they choose to play defense, but
Mm,
I really like
true.
Tyrese Proctor on the ball.
Yep.
I think he's got the length, he's got some athleticism to him.
Hmm. Yeah, I think if Vermont was matched up against somebody like Kansas, I would feel better.
Yeah. So
Definitely.
it's the bottom half of my bracket of the South
Okay.
here.
You're
I
not you're not
just
riding the
changed.
DJ Burns train?
I just that was the one I changed. So I just had NC State, and I was like, you know
Okay.
what? I think I'm gonna because the ACC is just not not a man's league, and
Okay.
so I think NC State when they run into a physical team
Hmm.
is just gonna struggle.
I will say, I mean, credit to Coach Keats and NC State what they did. Winning 5 games in 5 days is not easy. I think we all found ourselves rooting for DJ Burns
I love it
Saturday
for
night.
DJ Birds.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see what this team can do because even if they lose, I think they're going to give Texas Tech a game. So
Yeah.
that game's good, and then Kentucky's kind of a no brainer. I think.
I watched. I may not do much research, but I watched Oakland.
Okay.
I did watch Oakland's game, and they have a dude on their team. Let me pull up this preview. I'll probably say his name here. Um, yeah, Trey Townsend. The game
Okay.
I watched, he scored like 35 points. It was the championship game of their conference,
Mm-hmm.
and they could not stop him.
Really.
He was just like crushing dudes.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, they lost to Ohio State early.
They beat
I don't know, like
Xavier.
I don't think they beat Kentucky.
But you think they
But
give him a game?
I think it's within I don't think Kentucky gets up by 10
Mm-hmm.
until the last like 3 minutes.
Okay. I think Reed Shepard will be a star in this
Yeah.
tournament. I really think so. I mean, he has thoroughly impressed me this year, especially late, only a freshman. And then him and Rob Dillingham come off the bench.
Uh-huh.
Can you imagine that? Like that's loaded. So Louisville could have had, but that's we all knew that was coming. But
Yeah.
uh, Florida again, another interesting one. I think
Yeah.
Florida has the potential to upset Marquette.
They lost their
They,
big man though.
yeah, I know. I did see that. You know, wishing a speedy recovery. That was not a pretty injury.
I mean,
Um,
even Marquette. I mean, we don't know what the
right.
deal with Marquette is injury
Yep.
wise.
For Tyler Kolek. Yep. Exactly.
It does feel like in the past couple years we
Yep.
are getting at least every other year a 15-2 upset.
Hmm. Yeah. I this year I'm not as confident in a 15-2. But like you said, the trend is this year there will be none.
Hmm.
Um, Again, will there be a 314? There could.
Yeah,
Mm, maybe Creighton. I don't know. I mean, Akron, they got lucky because did you see the end of that game?
yeah, yep.
that was brutal. But yeah, I think then you have Duke beating Kentucky. I think that's that might be actually what it comes down to, and then we know you've got your Dukies winning.
Yep.
Um, as
The
always, I wouldn't expect anything less. I wore my Duke shirt for you guys yesterday because you needed all the help you can get getting that 4 seed.
I mean, I was surprised. I thought there was a slight chance to get a 5 seed,
5. Yep.
and they were the first 4 seeds. They were almost a 3 seed.
Hmm. I think if they had beat NC State,
Yep.
they could have taken who's the other 3 seed. Um, I honestly think that they potentially could have taken Kentucky's spot
Yeah.
or even Creighton's. I thought Illinois deserved their 3 seed after what they did this weekend, and so does Baylor. Baylor's Baylor.
Yep.
But
Um, right. We move over to the East.
yeah, we can go to
Uh,
the East, show a little love to
yeah.
our
I got
Northeast crowd.
UConn there.
Yep.
Um, yeah, I got my man. See, I got Boo Booey.
Yep.
Um, there's part of me. So the thing about FAU
Mm-hmm.
is, they haven't been good. They have
Mm-hmm.
that Arizona win.
Yep.
Um,
But after
and
that,
they return
yeah.
these guys that went from this uh um great run. Like it's not like this is a
Mm-hmm.
new FAU team.
Yeah.
And so you wonder, I mean, you wonder until you realize they play UConn, then I stop wondering.
Yeah.
But
I mean, come on. UConn's a juggernaut. It's funny. One of the baseball players at school said to me today, and I could totally see this happening. He's going to be absolutely right. UConn will struggle against Stetson in the
yeah,
first half because they're the defending champions, and that's how it always goes. And then they're either going to play FAU or Northwestern, and they're just going to blow them out by 30 after only beating Stetson by 12 because that's going to happen.
over under. How many fans will Danny Hurley try to fight? 5?
Stetson seems like a more mellow crowd.
I can't stand Danny Hurley.
Him and Rick Pitino both got teed up,
Oh my goodness.
but he wanted the fan to stay to watch when they beat St. John's.
What a terrible man. Oh my god. I can't stand him. Um,
Interesting, you got UAB. You're not the
yeah,
first person I've seen that.
I got UAB. I love picking the Ivies.
Yeah,
But Auburn's just playing well right
yeah,
now.
they are. Yeah, they're playing too well right now.
And then I got BYU, Illinois. I'm not a big Illinois guy. I
Hmm.
haven't bought in all year.
Hmm.
So I picked BYU for the upset over Illinois.
Okay.
And then Iowa State is a great team.
Hmm.
Drake Washington State was kind of a toss up for me.
Yeah, that was tough. I haven't seen much Washington State. I did watch Drake's game against Indiana State. I think Tucker DeVries is. I mean, he is absolutely spectacular. If
And then
then again, if Washington State shuts him down, then Drake's in
yeah,
big trouble.
yeah, and that's a tough one. That's gonna go off at like 10:30. Be watching that.
Yeah,
That's the beauty and the terrible thing about March
yeah,
Madness. You're gonna be up at 12:45 on a
right.
Thursday watching Drake and Washington State.
It's funny how it starts on time and it actually doesn't start to get delayed until about like 7:30
Yep.
because the 4 o'clock games are always where it goes long. And the
Uh-huh.
7:30 game starts late and everything just gets backed up and it's 11:30 and you're watching Drake in Washington State and you're like,
Yeah.
oh my god, I can't stay up.
Yes, I got BYU. I got the Iowa State.
Hmm.
And I mean, I went chalk in that region. I think those are the two best teams.
Sure.
Um, I Yeah, and I mean, I could see Iowa State hanging with UConn. I
Hmm.
it's just someone's going to have to show me they can beat UConn. I could see people. I know people like Illinois. I could see some people
Hmm.
picking Illinois over UConn
Yep, I
and
think
maybe
so. If
Terrence
Illinois
Shannon
plays like
going
they
back.
did yesterday, absolutely.
Yeah. Um. But yeah, it's. I mean, I didn't want to be. I Houston. I not only do I have Houston going out first,
Hmm.
they are definitely the one seed. I am happy Duke is in the region. I do think UNC is probably the worst one seed, but I just don't want to play UNC. Like they're that's too anxiety driven and stuff for to play them in the tournament.
You
Um,
wouldn't go to school that day if that was a championship. You'd be home.
yeah. So
Hey, let me throw you a hypothetical here. Say A&M doesn't beat Houston. Do you have confidence that this Duke team can beat Houston in a Sweet 16 matchup?
confident, yes.
Okay.
Um, I don't think that this Duke team has been way too inconsistent.
Hmm.
Um, and someone asked me today, am I picking Duke to win it all? And I said, yeah, because while Duke may not be like the best pick every year,
Hmm.
they always have a chance to win,
Yeah.
right? Like
Sure. Yep.
there's very few years where like it's unfathomable that Duke can win the championship.
Hmm. Yeah.
Um, it,
Absolutely.
I don't think they should win it this year.
Hmm.
Um, I they just don't. I thought they were ready for the physicalness, and they just haven't fully shown to me. I thought that in the NC State game, I mean, Jeremy Roach and Jeremy King were awful.
Yep.
Um, Kyle Filipowski was top three draft pick. Kyle Filipowski.
Hmm.
He was hustling and playing defense and aggressive and locked in.
Hmm.
Um, he was I not even just how well he played. I loved his energy. Like
Yep.
that was one of my favorite games I'd seen him play,
Hmm.
and the rest of the team was just trash.
I think for Duke to have a deep run in this tournament, I mean I've been saying it all year, but your X factor needs to be Mark Mitchell.
Hmm.
He needs to average about 17 and 11 every single game for you guys to have a shot to beat your Wisconsins, your Houstons, your Kentuckys if you're going to make it to the national championship. Because everybody else is going to show up. Roach is going to be there. He's a veteran. Filipowski
Yep.
was there last year. He got a little taste of the tournament, but he's hungry for more. But I think Mark Mitchell, if he can step up and hold down that interior, because he's a versatile forward, I think if
Yep.
he can really post up, hit some turnaround shots, hit a three or two, and grab some rebounds, I think it's going to propel this Duke team farther than a lot of people think that they're going to go.
Yeah, and what I'd really like to see Mark Mitchell be more of an energy guy.
Hmm.
He plays the way an energy guy should. I
Yep.
mean, he played okay against NC State. I wasn't thrilled with how he played, but
Hmm.
statistically, he went like
Yeah.
3 from 3 or 3 from 4 from the 3 point line.
Yeah.
He was shooting the ball, but he needs to be a guy that gets a big block, runs the floor and dunks it, or
Hmm.
screams after he dunks it. And I just don't think that's him. And I think
Yeah.
he's just a quieter guy.
He's not going to wow you with like you said, he's a sneaky statistics guy where you'll look at his box score and you'll say, really, he shot 53% from the floor.
Yeah,
But those are the kind of guys that are the best guys to have that just come in and I know you don't like that he's not loud enough, but sometimes those are the best guys to come in. Like quiet guy, do your work. You hurt
yep,
the other team quietly, and you move on. But
yeah,
I'm again, Duke's always going to be in it because it's the legendary program. So
yep.
we'll see. Let's move to their counterpart, the
All right, out
UNC Tar
west.
Heels.
All right, so I got UNC taking on Howard, even though Howard has some Duke alumni. You know who else plays on Howard is Seth Towns. I was listening to a
Yep,
podcast today about
they
him.
call him the Unk.
Yeah,
Eighth year.
um, yeah. I got Michigan State. Some of these guys. So when Duke lost to UNC a and in the end of the season game, and Cormac Ryan is out
Hmm.
here screaming at dudes,
Hmm.
and that waving to the fans and doing all this. I was like, man, Cormac Ryan's been in the league for a little bit. I
Yeah.
wonder how old he is. He's 25, and he's gonna turn 26 before like in the fall he'll be 26.
Oh,
And
really?
I'm like, I understand there's a lot of guys out there that are old now, but you're 25 years old.
Hmm.
Like, stop waving at these like like there isn't a big difference between, I think once you hit college,
Hmm.
there's not a significant difference between any age really.
Hmm.
Like I think you can sort of be friends or like or whatever with people that are older or younger than you.
Hmm.
But it's weird, I think, to like taunt people that are younger than you.
Okay.
And when he's like Duke always tends to run a little young, and
Hmm.
it just feels weird to have like 25, 26-year-old men playing college basketball.
Yeah, I mean that's the transfer portal. That's really all I can say to it. You know my opinions on that, so I'll leave that off the grid for today. I can go off on that another day. But yeah, no, Seth Towns. I swear he's been in college for about 8 years now.
It is, and
So
I think the podcast said he has a either like an injury or COVID. Like he's got one more year if he
yeah,
wants.
yep, year 9. He can
Um,
go to 2 degrees.
yeah. So yeah,
And
I
you want to
like
know the funny
Michigan.
thing? The funny thing is he's getting it all for free.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, and good. I mean, he what Ivy League was at? He was
Harvard. He was at
at
Harvard,
yes. I mean, he's getting good degrees too.
Harvard and Ohio State.
So yeah, at Michigan State, I like St. Mary's.
Yep.
I think if Grand Canyon's a team that I could see myself picking.
Hmm.
Um, Even them though, Grand Canyon was the game that I sent you that TikTok of, right? Where the dude
Yeah.
got like
Yeah.
pulled into the end, and
Yes.
was it not Bryce Drew? Bryce Drew came out and was like getting all his players off the floor just to make sure no one got into like any sort of fight.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's interesting again. I could see Grand Canyon winning, but I just think St. Mary's is too fundamentally sound. And then Alabama, Charleston. Some people are picking Charleston, but I know Alabama hasn't been great lately, but Alabama can score.
Yep,
And
yep,
I think that's what will carry them through round one. But then when they face a team like St. Mary's, who is just
yep,
so good defensively, I think they're going to run into some problems.
yeah. Um, that's a tough draw for Clemson. We talked
Mm,
about New Mexico being
yeah.
probably a little underseeded.
Hmm.
They're more of an 8 team. And yeah, that's I and, Clemson's one of those teams that sort of surprises you. Like you kind of don't think they're going to be as good as they are.
Hmm.
Um, And so I think New Mexico gets a win there. Baylor, I think, is a pretty complete team, so they'll
Yep.
beat Colgate. I'm not a big Dayton guy. I think they're good.
Yeah, they
But
got too high of a seed.
yeah, I think this is if Dayton's in a flip 'em game, I don't
Hmm.
mind picking the other team.
Yeah. And Nevada, I
And
mean,
then
Nevada beat TCU this year,
yeah,
so they can do
Arizona.
it.
We talked about the 15-2. Oh man, Arizona lost the 15-2 last year. And the tournament produces magic moments.
Yep. And for Long Beach
And
State,
yep, this guy is
you're done.
lose this game, right? If this guy wins the game, do they like hire him back? Like,
Oh man, I don't know. I mean, that's why you don't do that. But again, you know what? That's the greatest. That's got to be the greatest fu in all
yep,
of college basketball. Is you get fired and then you win your conference tournament. And you know what? Now that you say that, I wouldn't be totally shocked if they beat Arizona because that's what happened last year. But again,
yep,
that's different than a Princeton team.
yep. Um, did you see the video of she might have coached like Utah or something like that? the female coach, and they asked her. She like lost a game, and they were pretty bad, I think. And they asked her like, how do you plan to uh you know rebound next season, stuff like
Hmm.
that. And she goes, that's someone else's problem. I've just been told I'm fired.
Well, that I mean, way to be brutally honest.
Yeah.
Guess that's one way to look at it.
Oh, yeah, I'm gonna look at that Long Beach State one. I tend to think that I'd have to look statistically, but I feel like more upsets happen on Thursday.
Yeah, I
Like,
know. Yeah, in recent years, it's
yeah,
definitely felt like that for sure.
I think it's sort of a wake up call to the Friday teams, right? They're like, okay,
Yeah.
wait a second, like I gotta, make sure I don't mess around. And because you watch these games, like you think about Texas A&M and Duke and just all these
Hmm.
other teams, where in the regular season you're like, okay, we got this. Like oh yeah, sure, easy win. Like
Hmm.
and then they lose, and you're like, what is going on? How could you
Yeah.
lose this game? And so you watch these tournament games, you're like, oh yeah, Arizona easy, like no
Hmm.
problem. And then the game happens, and they lose. And like like you think this should be so easy,
Yeah.
but it's I mean if FDU can beat Purdue, then
So can Montana State.
yeah,
Yeah, I need to make it past Thursday this year. That's what I need to do. I need to make
yeah.
it past Thursday and Friday. I need to make it past the first weekend because I don't know. Anyway,
Yeah, that Long Beach State one's interesting.
yep.
And then I got North Carolina, I got St. Mary's. I could be tempted to pick St. Mary's over North Carolina. I got to look at
Okay.
that again.
Hmm.
Um, and then Baylor. I like Baylor. I just think that I think they're probably a better team than North Carolina. I think they're a little
Hmm.
bit deeper.
Okay.
Um, and then on the Midwest,
The so
I
this
got
is
Purdue.
Purdue's easiest road. This
Yep.
is the easiest region. If Purdue were to win the national championship, this would be the easiest road. But again, as my teammate and I were talking today, and as a joke, he's said Purdue is my Cinderella this year, and then I was like, shut up. Uh, but you know what? I could see Purdue blowing it because just like you have.
I'm yeah, I I don't even know if I like TCU or Utah State over Purdue.
Mm.
I just don't think I like Purdue. Um, I I I just don't know. There's no consistency
Hmm.
beyond anyone except for Zach Eady,
Okay, yep, that's fair.
and it's like if 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 it's 10 minutes left in the second half,
Hmm.
and TCU is up 62-58 against Purdue,
Hmm.
what do those guards start doing? Do
Yeah.
they start making threes or do they start blowing it?
Do you think it's fair to say that either Purdue or Montana State and Grambling might just be uh, the game that is really on people's eye Friday night, or even possibly Friday in general? Is will Purdue make it past the first game again?
Yeah, but I think Purdue's going to blow them out.
Again, we all
I
thought that
think
last year, 24-point favorites, and and
yeah,
again, it's like you said, it's so hard to predict because again, if I'm TCU or Utah State or any other team, I'm going to let Zach Eady get his because you're not going to
yeah,
stop. Like, you can't, and FDU did it perfectly. You can't stop Zach Eady. He's going to
yeah,
get his, but you can stop everybody else. And
hmm,
if you can stop everybody else, then you're going to win.
yeah, yeah. The hard part about right, because you're right. I think I almost think you can't stop Zach Eady, even if you
Hmm.
play good defense. He's just so skilled and so big that he's still it's in a early round game in
Hmm.
like a first weekend or like a Sweet 16 matchup.
Yep.
I don't see any world where Zach Eady doesn't have at least 20 points.
Sure. 20 points and probably 15 rebounds to go along with
Yeah.
it.
But you're right. Like it's you gotta if you're a team that's good at offense,
Hmm.
if Zach Edey scores 20,
Yeah.
the rest of the team still has to put up another 50 or 55 points.
Yep. Absolutely.
Um, So then, yeah, so I gotta
Mm.
look at that TCU Utah State thing. I think the interesting one falls in that I've been big on the McNeese
Hmm.
bandwagon, Will Wade, the Sanford Kansas one. So I was big on Sanford because I'm pretty sure I'm 99% sure I was listening to a podcast a
Hmm.
week or two ago, and apparently Sanford, I believe it, I'm 99% sure it's Sanford
Hmm.
presses
Okay.
on every single possession.
Okay.
They full court press every single possession all game
Really?
long.
Okay.
So not only is Kansas banged up, and they shoot 40% from the 3-point line.
Wow.
So they can shoot threes. They're going to make Kansas tired. Kansas is
Hmm.
banged up,
Hmm.
and this is what someone mentioned, maybe on like one of the preview shows after the bracket was released.
Hmm.
This game is going to be played at altitude.
Yep. Yeah, you are right. Yep. All right. Wait.
So you're getting a team
Yeah,
that
you're
is
right.
just yeah, like I just don't know if because even if um who's the not Dickinson, but who's the other guy that's banged up for Kansas?
McCullough,
Yeah, like even if McCullough is relatively healthy,
which
he's
he
probably
won't.
not in game shape.
Yeah, and he won't be. They
Yeah,
said that that thing is not going to heal at all. He's probably 50%.
yeah,
And then I think it's Dickinson's, honestly, I think it's Dickinson's shooting shoulder
yeah.
that is messed up. And I mean, he can't guard a ball screen for his life in the first place. So, I
And
mean, if
they
I'm
got
Stanford,
yeah, and they got smoked
yep. Oh,
in the
yeah.
tournament. Like
Yeah.
if they had won that, you'd be like, okay,
Yeah.
like the rest of these guys maybe can play.
Hmm.
Sure, they're Kansas. They should be able to
Yep.
beat a mid-major team. But
Yeah. Instead, they got smoked with a capital S.
yeah. And I mean Hunter Dickinson, he's a good player, sure, right? And
Yep.
Michigan obviously has not been good. Juwan Howard was not a good coach,
Hmm.
but Hunter Dickinson's not. I guess they had that one good year with Juwan Howard a couple years
Hmm.
ago.
Yep.
Um, but I don't know if Hunter Dickinson's a winner.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah, I again, I I think if Kansas wins, again, I have the McNeese Gonzaga game flip flopped. I think if they Kansas ends up winning, they're going to lose to Gonzaga. But I am probably. I mean, that game's a toss up. Geez, I think a semi healthy Dickinson and a semi healthy McCullough are maybe enough to squeak by Samford. But this team is not going anywhere this year.
Yeah, I mean I agree, right? You look at how they're not bad, right? Because sometimes you look at these mid-major teams and
Hmm.
you talk yourself into like, oh yeah, like this
Yeah.
team, like they're gonna go on a run, and you look at their
Hmm.
record and they're
Yeah.
like 22-11. You're like, well,
Yeah.
how'd they lose 11 times? Like
Yeah.
they lost to some bad teams.
Right.
Whereas Stanford 29-5, okay, that's excusable.
Yeah.
You lose to, everyone's gonna have one or two bad games.
Yeah.
I mean, they did get smoked by Purdue real early on, but that's
Yeah.
probably before they found their identity.
Yeah.
Um, and so two of your five losses are to VCU and Purdue. So
Hmm.
those aren't terrible
Yeah.
losses right
Yep.
there.
Because VC is an NIT team, so
Yeah,
that's not bad.
yeah. So that means they had three, maybe so and
Yep.
off games or whatever.
Hmm. Here's what I'm gonna say about McNeese State. I know you're on the Will Wade train. We know how you feel about Will Wade. I'm not picking them only because they have had a terribly weak schedule this year.
Yes.
That is the only reason I'm not. They are good, but in my mind, they have not played adequate competition this year. That's the only reason I'm not picking them. But again, I think that's another toss up. That's going to go either way. I think if McNeese can really get out and run, and I mean Gonzaga wants to run too, but if they can get guys in foul trouble, because Gonzaga's not deep. So if they can
Yep.
get Ek in foul trouble, Watson in foul trouble, they're gonna run away with that game quickly.
Yeah. Um, and then I got so bottom half of the bracket. I got South Carolina over Oregon. I got
Okay.
Creighton. That UVA, Colorado State. I'm leaning towards. And Colorado State's been good this year. I picked the winner of that to beat Texas,
Yep.
thinking that UVA was going to be the winner. Um, but I think either way, I would pick
Mhm.
UVA or Colorado State over Texas.
Yeah.
I
Every year,
don't.
someone from the first four goes to
Yeah,
wins a game.
yeah, and I just don't. Texas, even themselves, were a little inconsistent this
Hmm.
year. Yeah, I like Tennessee,
Yep.
although I mean,
They got
everyone got
blitzed. Yeah.
smoked in their conference tournament.
They got blitzed by Chris Jan's
Yeah,
team. And again, here's your stat I told you yesterday: is no one who has lost in their opening game of their conference tournament has won the chip.
yep, yeah.
So,
I mean, I think Tennessee should be okay in the beginning. Like,
yep.
I don't think
Okay.
St. Peter's will beat them.
No.
I don't think like UVA can't beat Tennessee.
So,
Um,
that
Colorado State maybe.
that will be so funny if UVA matches up against Tennessee because the final score of that game is going to be like 20-19.
Yeah, yeah, but 20 for Tennessee. Like Virginia is just they just can't put the ball in the hoop,
Yeah.
and Tennessee at least they can't. It might be 2019, and Dalton what is it, Dalton Kneck or whatever.
Yeah.
He's
Dalton.
gonna have all
Yeah.
20 points.
Yeah. In the last 3 minutes of the game,
Yeah.
they'll heat up. Interesting. You got
Uh,
South Carolina as you got Stanford and South Carolina as your Cinderellas this year.
Yeah, and I think South Carolina was, and remember they what were they like 20-0 or something like that,
Mm, yep.
like, and they came back to down a little bit, but like, I mean they've played these teams
Hmm.
before. They've
Yep.
played Tennessee.
Yeah.
Um, I think we look real quickly here, as just a little reminder, right? Tennessee lost 63-59 to
Mm,
South Carolina, and then they beat them 66-59.
yep.
So I mean, there's no reason South Carolina can't beat Tennessee.
Yep. Yeah.
Um, I think if Purdue, I think I like South Carolina probably no matter what. Like even if
Mhm.
Purdue doesn't get upset and it
Okay.
ends up being Purdue South Carolina, I think
Hmm.
I like South Carolina there.
Okay. Well.
Um,
Okay. Bold,
that
but I
brings us
love it.
Duke South Carolina.
Rematch of that year that they
There.
knocked you out,
Yep, yep.
courtesy of Frank
I
Martin.
I was in South Carolina for that game. We were on like a little like reunion thing. We were watching the game at a bar, which I hate doing because I hate watching with other people.
It was not a
And
happy night for you.
no, I was miserable. This year, I'm trying to convince myself that if Duke loses, that I'm going to like take a breath and try to enjoy the tournament for once.
You should. You should. You really should. So can we have a competition between who gets? Well, we are, but the lose. So if you lose, you have to watch One Shining Moment, no matter what. And if I lose, you can come up with something for me.
I'll think of something Duke related.
Okay, yeah. But if you lose, you're watching One Shining Moment on the podcast
You,
live.
you know why I don't like watching One Shining Moment is because Duke is such a brand that them losing is with like if not your team because Texas A&M is also a pretty decent brand, but like most people's teams, if they lose, that's not like a highlight on One Shining Moment. Like Duke losing is a highlight on One Shining Moment.
I don't know if they were on it from last year. I'll have to go
I might
back
have
and
to go
send
back
it to
and
you.
watch. That's true because the Tennessee game wasn't like a great game. Like it was close, but
Yeah,
Tennessee was kind of Tennessee sort of felt like they were control most of the game, even though it was
yeah,
close.
yeah. You might got like Plavsic elbowing Filipowski.
Yeah.
Maybe that's that.
I do feel like Roach and McCain have been cold. Like
Hmm.
Roach for sure. I do think Roach is going to have a better tournament.
Yep.
I was really disappointed with how he played against UNC.
Hmm.
Um, but I do think I mean I know for sure McCain loves the stage. He loves the attention.
Yeah.
Like McCain's not getting rattled by people making fun of his nail polish.
Hmm.
Like he wants to be on TV.
Yep.
So I do think like he's going to have a pretty good tournament. I think
Okay.
what Duke's dilemma is, I was listening to a podcast that was talking about Caleb Foster, and I
Hmm.
haven't heard any news. I don't think Caleb Foster's coming back. And if he
Yep.
comes back, I think you simply use him as foul trouble, right? Like Barry
Sure.
Roach picks up 3 fouls in the first half. Okay, put
Hmm.
Caleb Foster in for 3 or 4 minutes. I don't think you try to work him back at all. If he can get in for 8 minutes a game and hit you a 3 pointer, great. But
Hmm. Yeah, it will definitely be interesting. I love your final Duke Baylor. It's different than everybody else's, and I mean this tournament's going to be so crazy that I would not be surprised.
so let's do a quick little. You mentioned a couple of things on your end, but let's take a quick look at the East bracket.
Hmm.
Um, Give me, we're kind of missing a few games there, but I guess at least real quick we'll go through that top end.
Hmm.
Any, and we can skip some of this stuff, but any notable things you
Sure.
see in that top half of the East?
I mean that UConn Auburn Sweet 16. I mean that is TD Garden. It's going to be packed with Connecticut fans,
Yep.
and that game is going to be an absolute rock fight. And Bruce Pearl is going to bring his team ready to play. They just steamrolled everybody in the
Yep.
SEC tournament. If anyone can beat UConn, I think it can be Auburn.
I'm
I
not a
think,
big. I was just saying, I'm not a big Bruce Pearl guy.
but
Um,
Auburn is physical.
and and Bruce Pearl's a winner. Like Bruce
Yep.
Pearl, so he when he was at Tennessee, my that was right around when my wife was there,
Hmm.
and he kind of screwed them over a little bit, like some like
Yep.
infractions and stuff.
Sure.
Um, so I'm not a big Bruce Pearl, but I do, yeah,
Hmm.
you're right. Like similar to, um, there's a couple coaches out there that kind of bring the passion, like Hurley, even though I don't like him. Um, the guy that coached at Georgia Tech,
Pastner.
Josh,
Yep. Pastner. Yep.
yeah, he brings intensity. Um, yeah, there's a couple coaches out there that they Shaka Smart when he's out there playing defense.
Hmm.
Um, so
Trying to
yeah,
think
and
of
Bruce
who
Pearl,
else.
you're right. Like Bruce, I mean Bruce Pearl and Danny Hurley might get in a fight. Like,
Another one, same bracket, Darren DeVries from Drake. He's really intense.
yeah,
So, but I mean that UConn Auburn game, well, that might be the game of the tournament
hmm
if they could match up. And then again, Iowa State is super talented. I mean, Illinois, can they make a run? You know,
you know what I love about the tournament this year
what's that?
is we're getting Good Friday off. And so
Oh,
you're going
right.
to get some basketball on Good Friday, Easter
Yes,
Sunday.
yes.
Sit on the couch and watch some basketball on Easter
Hmm.
Sunday.
And you don't have to go to bed early on the 28th because it's the Sweet 16.
Yep. Yes, it is.
That's
It's
like
going to be some
basketball
good.
heaven.
I
No
know.
pun intended, but
All right. Anything on that bottom half of the East bracket that you're liking?
I mean, Iowa State, uh, you know, Illinois is really the only threat to them. I think Drake
If
will give them a good game at BYU if they get there, but
if
I
Auburn
was
upsets UConn,
yeah,
then who do you have in an Auburn Iowa State? Who'd you lean towards there?
that is so tough. I want to say Auburn, but I could be tempted to go either way because again, Iowa State completely steamrolled Houston. I don't think anybody saw that coming
Yep. Yep. All right. Let's say the best region for last.
for last. Okay,
All right, on the West Coast at top half. What are you liking?
here's where I'm going to go different. I think the winner of that Mississippi State Michigan State game is going to beat North Carolina.
Oh, I hope so.
I think I would not be surprised if Izzo's got his squad ready and Chris Jens' squad I mean, they came in and beat Kentucky. I mean, Tennessee when nobody thought they were. Two tough teams.
Yeah.
I think St. Mary's, like you have, will beat Alabama just because Alabama can't defend for their life. Literally, their tournament life will be gone by then. Again, Clemson. I mean, I'm not too excited about them. New Mexico, they have the potential to beat Baylor. I love what Richard Pitino's done there. You know, Arizona, could they avenge last year? Maybe. Again, Nevada, Steve Alford, they got blown out last year. So I would not be surprised. I mean, he's going to have them ready. Even if they don't beat Arizona, they're going to give him a game, especially in Salt Lake City. That's going to be packed with both fans. So that will definitely be a good one too.
I mean, Long Beach State, right? They beat Iona, not Michigan, not great teams, but
USC,
bigger name
yeah.
teams. They didn't lose to San Diego State by that much.
Mm-hmm.
They got this guy putting up 17.8 points per
Mm-hmm.
game. Another guy putting up 12.2.
Mm-hmm.
Man, there's something to be said about playing for your coach.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you are right. Yeah.
Um, what was I gonna ask you? Yeah. Oh no, I was just gonna say, right when you talk about the UNC thing,
Mm-hmm.
they say that guards will win you March,
Mm-hmm.
and I think RJ Davis is one of the best guards, one of the best players
Mm-hmm.
in NCAA this year. But
Yep.
they say guards win you championships, and
Yep.
I think they got a guard. I don't know if they have guards.
And again, Mississippi State and Michigan State both have guards. Josh
Yes.
Hubbard,
Yep.
DJ Jeffries, Tyson Walker, AJ Hogard. They've all got guards, and either one of those teams could go toe to toe, and I think they will end up beating North Carolina
Yeah.
because again, those North Carolina guys, sure, you can bring that team together, but you get Chris Jans's teams and Izzo's teams are old, and I know some guys in North Carolina are old, but you got to be old and have experience.
Yeah. Yep. All right. What you go over here on the Midwest?
Yeah, so I mean, I locked TCU for a win once I saw Utah State on the screen. After they were cheering and then they came up with TCU, they all got silent and sat down. So
Was that who it was? I couldn't. I
yes,
did see that.
yes.
Yep.
So
And
I think everybody in America knew who was winning that game after that.
yeah.
Um, I'm gonna have Gonzaga beating McNeese. I think again, I think we'll see a Gonzaga Purdue Sweet 16. Um, does Gonzaga have enough in the tank? I don't know. If you can find a way to stop Edie, which you're not, but if you can outplay them, then you've got a chance. But again, I could see TCU winning because I feel bad for Jamie Dixon because he gets stuck in this same seed every year and goes toe to toe with the one seed and almost wins. So maybe
Yeah.
this is the year that they do it.
The tournament's so interesting, right? Because you talk about Gonzaga, and
Mm-hmm.
it's like I have them out in the first round,
Yep.
but it's like you are you're this and that away from
Yeah.
who knows, like the final four, right? If
Yep.
Purdue
Sure.
gets upset in the round of 32, okay, there
Yep.
goes your one seed.
Yep.
And then sure, like Gonzaga could definitely beat Samford.
Mm-hmm.
They could beat TCU. They might be able to beat
Sure.
South Carolina. Like
Yeah.
it's just
Yep.
you're like, oh, this team's out, and all it takes is just one little thing. It's like
Yeah.
the butterfly effect, right? Just
Yeah.
one thing changes everything.
Yeah, literally one possession. That's all. That's all it really is. It could be the last 3 seconds of the game. They could play perfect until then.
Because I was convinced, right? Who was it? Uh, um, FAU last year
Mm-hmm.
when Duke what was it like I think no yeah Duke lost when Duke lost to Tennessee,
Okay.
and then I think Tennessee might be FAU might beat Tennessee, I think.
Yes.
But then when UNC ended up playing FAU, they destroyed them.
Mm-hmm.
And my thought had always been, like when I saw FAU win, I was like, this like if Duke can get by Tennessee, there's
Mm-hmm.
the path because they're
Yeah.
they're gonna beat
Right.
FAU, and I still think they
Mm-hmm.
would have.
Yeah.
Like it's just you have to if the bracket just breaks your way.
Yeah. I know because that was honestly, if Duke had won, that was their region to lose.
Yeah.
It really was because Marquette went down the day after too to
Yep.
Izzo's team.
How do you feel about that Creighton, South Carolina area there?
I had Oregon winning.
Okay. So
Um,
you
I
me and you were way off.
I think Infali Dante is going to be a problem for Oregon. Again, Dana Altman, he's just been there. I think Oregon's going to beat South Carolina and then end up beating Creighton to make it to the
Okay.
Sweet 16, and then I think that's where it ends with Tennessee. Um, I say this every year, and I look like a fool once Tennessee gets knocked out. But I mean, Dalton Knecht he has really changed this team, and
Mm-hmm.
he is spectacular. And if Adu and Vescovy and Zakai Ziegler can play at their max potential, this Tennessee team could really make the championship.
Yeah, I do not. St. Peter's not pulling that upset. I mean, say
Yeah,
most of
no,
St. Peter's noble results are losses.
yeah.
So, um, all right. So do you have a just off the top of your head non-official
Final
Final
four.
Four?
That's really tough. I would say no. I don't because I think the Elite Eight is where I really am on the fence because it could range anything from I don't know Auburn, Baylor, Gonzaga, and Kentucky to UConn, Arizona, uh, Duke, and you know Tennessee. So I think it's difficult, but
Who's your who would you say off of a quick skim
mhm,
is the I guess because I think these are slightly two different questions. Give
mhm.
me your top uh double digit seed
Okay,
to that's going to kind of make it the farthest.
okay.
Um and your Cinderella team. So let's say your 5 seed and up that's going to make a run.
I want to say my double digit seed. I do like Oregon.
Oh, that's right. Yep.
I do. Who else did I like? I think Michigan
New
State can make
Mexico,
some
if you liked a little
noise.
bit.
Yeah, Nevada. Uh, I could. I There's a ton of teams. I think what we touched on the 5 seed and up that can really exceed their expectations. I think the sky's the limit for Auburn.
Mm-hmm.
I think that I mean they're playing like a top four team in the country right now. Someone said that to me today, and I completely agree. I mean, I can't say it enough. They just blitzed that whole SEC tournament
Yep.
and made everybody look like they were on a inferior level than Auburn.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's that, and I think you know Oregon could really be a sleeper just because they weren't even expected to be here. Um, I wouldn't be surprised if Duquesne, you know, in Coach Dambrot's last year, he's retiring after the tournament, kind of.
Yep.
Like you said, there's something about playing for your coach. So I wouldn't be surprised if they made a run either.
Yeah. Um. Yeah. All right. Um. It's that Auburn. I love picking the Ivies,
Hmm.
but Auburn's just
Yeah, Yale's
too
good,
much
but
fun.
I think Auburn has just too much firepower.
Yeah. Um. What in terms of teams that we looked at the first four out.
Hmm.
What do you think about some of the more kind of controversial, like your Pitt, or not your like your Wake Forest and your St.
Mhm.
John's. Um, are you surprised that St. John's wasn't a first four out? Are you surprised they didn't get in?
I'm not, because I'm not surprised that they were not a first four out, and I'm not surprised that they didn't get in, because you can't hinge your bets on your last 9 games of the year.
Hmm.
You got to win early too. And again, it was the same for Wake Forest. You can't lose 3 out of 4 to quad three teams after beating a Duke and expect to be in.
Yep.
I will have to say before we leave, we have to make our first 4 predictions, because we got to show love to the 8 teams that are playing tomorrow and Wednesday.
I also wanted you, and I'm trying to get it pulled up here, and it won't open up for me. Uh, Here we go. This might work. There we go. I'll skim through it. I don't know how well you'll be able to see this here,
Mm-hmm.
um, but give me let's see.
Oh, NIT.
Yeah, give me just oh, there we go. Come back. There we go. There we go. Uh, just give me a random shot in the dark. I'll kind of skim through here real quick. I'll mention a couple
Mm-hmm.
teams and just give me a shot in the dark NIT winner. So
Okay.
we got Seton Hall up there. I'll mention teams that mention them all real quick, but some of the teams that are really highlighted. Seton Hall is up there. Then you got St. Joe's, a bad LSU, a bad North Texas, a good Providence, a decent BC, a good Princeton, okay UNLV, an okay
Mm-hmm.
Wake, a good record App State, a bad Georgia, bad Xavier, um, and then an okay Virginia Tech, I guess, a decent Richmond, a pretty hot Ohio State,
Mm-hmm.
an okay Cornell, UC Irvine, whatever Utah, an okay Kansas State, okay Iowa, on and off UCF, a pretty good South Florida, a decent VCU, a shaky Villanova, pretty good San Francisco, okay Cincinnati, decent Loyola, decent Bradley, an okay Minnesota, okay Butler, decent SMU, Indiana State kind of trying to show they belong. And let's see.
I'm looking at the left side. My winner's either Princeton or Ohio State. Like you said, Ohio State's hot right now, but Princeton is also a really good team we saw last year. So I think either one of those teams will win it. Definitely.
Yeah, I do like that Ohio State pick. I think um, yeah, I like Ohio State. I mean, I could be tempted to get to Ohio State in like San Francisco, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, I mean, I mean, I know the NIT kind of had a different selection method this year.
Yep.
But I mean, you look at this bracket, and a lot of people like to complain, oh, like this team didn't get in,
Mm-hmm.
this team didn't get in. You look at
Yeah.
that bracket, and you're not like, oh man, that team needs to be in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah. Yeah. You're right. You're absolutely right. Yeah. Totally.
All right, so we're okay. We're doing our first four.
Yeah. So tomorrow we got Howard and Wagner in Virginia and Colorado State.
I'm gonna go with Howard because of their
Okay.
Duke connections, as well as I did watch the Wagner game,
Okay.
um, and that they were the ones that beat um,
Merrimack.
Merrimack, right? Um, I don't know, like I didn't think Wagner was that good. I thought
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was personally I thought it was embarrassing that Merrimack lost on their home court, I tuned into that to watch Merrimack win the game, and
Hmm.
that was my one Merrimack game I watched all year, and I was
You're
disappointed.
disappointed.
Yeah, like uh, yeah, I, I won't watch any more Merrimack games after that.
Yeah, not
They
after that.
upset me. And then UVA versus Colorado State, right?
Hmm.
Oh man, I would this whole time I'm picking UVA. Um, but I think as we've been talking, like there's something about me that thinks Virginia has a little bit of magic.
Hmm.
Uh, well, I'm gonna go Colorado State though. Give me
Okay.
Howard and Colorado State.
Okay. I've got Howard and Virginia tomorrow.
Okay.
So we're 1-2. And then
All right.
Wednesday is Montana State and Grambling and Boise State and Colorado.
I'll take Grambling.
Okay.
And then uh, Boise State and Colorado.
Yep.
Um, I'm gonna go going back to like the selection show.
Hmm.
I would have picked Colorado.
Okay.
Um, I think Colorado is a better team, but Boise State looked disappointed by
Hmm.
being in the
The
first
first
four.
four. Yep. Okay.
Um, and I think they're going to use that as some fuel.
Okay.
And I could see them coming out. Who does Boise State? If Boise State wins, who they have to play after that?
Florida.
You know what? If Boise State wins, I think I might pick them over Florida.
Okay.
Like you were talking about, there's always that first 14 that kind of goes
Yeah.
on a little bit of a run.
Hmm.
And just Boise State's faces after being in the playing game didn't look like, oh man, like that's disappointing. It was more like a
Hmm.
disrespect
Yeah.
look. And I
Yeah. That's
think
true.
if they can beat Colorado, that's going to tell me something.
Yeah. At least they didn't look like Utah State. That's for sure.
Yeah. Who you got?
I got Montana State and Boise State, so we're 1-2 again.
Okay. Um, all right. And then, all right, that takes us
Yeah.
through most of it there.
Yeah. Well, we will reconvene. Uh, we have to reconvene this weekend after. Hopefully, nobody's bracket gets busted.
Man, what if Duke loses to Tennessee last year and then Texas A&M this year? Uh, oh my god.
Well, they both play They both play Sunday. So if we do Sunday morning, then we won't be disappointed.
Yeah. All right. It's who?
Although I think you guys play before us on Friday.
Yeah. How uh so you asked me about Duke. Okay, we'll finish off in this. How confident are you in the Texas A&M Nebraska game? You feel good?
Uh, yeah, I mean, I feel good. I think we're licking our chops a little. Um, I mean, I
How
know.
worried are you that Texas A&M becomes a Texas A&M 2 weeks ago, where you were like swearing off your like fandom and like ready to throw them off the bridge?
To be honest, it has not crossed my mind. I mean, you hit 11
You think the
threes.
Texas A&M that we got last week is the real Texas A&M?
I mean, geez, 11 threes will really do it. I mean, after that game, I was like, I said, geez, we can make it a Sweet 16 if we play like this.
Yeah.
I'm confident. I watched Nebraska. They're good. I I just think we have a little bit more depth. I mean, Tominaga can make shots, but I think if we can, we'll put Radford on him, and I think if we can lock him up, I'm confident. And I wanted that.
Hmm.
I wanted that matchup. You know, sure, would I rather play someone like North Carolina more than Houston. Yeah, but I mean, we lost to one by Houston. I either wanted North Carolina or Houston. That was the ones that I wanted. So I'm confident.
Yeah.
I'm also confident that if it came to it, we could beat you guys.
They're oh man, the freaking Henry Coleman matchup again. I hate
He
playing
doesn't
against.
play anymore. We don't really play him a lot,
Yeah, but you still gotta like deal with like this guy that used to be on your team, and
and that would be the Sweet 16.
yeah,
We would be sending you home.
I always get I always get Ole Miss. Is Mississippi State? Oh, did Ole Miss not make it? I always
Yeah,
forget.
no,
Like
they didn't make it. No, they didn't make
okay,
it.
all right, because like the Mississippi thing always confuses me.
Yeah, yeah,
Because Ole Miss is the team that Jamin Breakfield's on, right?
yes.
Okay. Um, God, I we'll see how many Duke players leave after this. Maybe you think Cooper Flag can like? Is there a way to get him on the team before the tournament starts?
Wow, way to be optimistic. Jeez.
No, I just need like I just need another big man off the. So here's hope that John Shire plays the bench a little more. I'm confident enough though. Vermont's not a very big team, um, and I'm confident that if Flip gets in any sort of foul trouble, Ryan Young will be very productive against a team like Vermont.
Hmm.
And even a Wisconsin, I think Ryan Young can play a Wisconsin. I my concern was, although I was really happy with how Flip played
Hmm.
against DJ Burns in that NC
Hmm.
State game.
DJ
Um,
Burns was tossing around like a rag doll.
no, he kind of held his ground, but
He
Ryan,
does that to everyone.
like Ryan Young, I did not want to see him against Zach Edey. Um, And so I'm hoping that we can get some more Sean Stewart. I was a little disappointed that so I was disappointed that Sean Stewart didn't get more playing time against
Hmm.
NC State because he had a
Okay.
really good game the week before against NC State.
Yes.
But Mark Mitchell, as I mentioned, had like 16 points or something like that,
Hmm.
and
Yep.
Flip was playing tremendous.
Yeah.
So it's like, what do you do
Yeah.
then? Like I
Exactly.
guess you can go to a lineup of Sean Stewart, Mark Mitchell, and Kyle Filipowski, but I don't know if that's a
Hmm.
super effective lineup.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of what Duke has done these past couple of years, and what a lot of what John Shire's doing, is he kind of just rides the hot hand,
Hmm.
and if you're playing well, he just kind of keeps you in, which
Yeah.
I'm okay with. But I just it doesn't do a lot for building the confidence of some of these younger players going into the tournament.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to see. I do think that TJ Power might be due for a little bit of a big game. Maybe perhaps a
Hmm.
he's no Grayson Allen, but a little bit of like a Grayson Allen game during when Duke won it back in 2015. You know, like,
I despise Grayson Allen.
but man, if you look at the NBA career, like he is he's shooting like 50% from the 3-point line. He's putting up like whenever they let him play like a lot because he's on the Suns, right? So he's got to deal with Devin Booker and stuff like that.
I will never
Um,
compliment him.
but he is like, like he is a lot better of an NBA player, and he's gonna have a long NBA career. He's gonna have like a JJ Redick career.
That's okay. We're gonna put the brakes on that conversation.
No,
Nope,
we can
nope,
get we
no
can get yeah.
Grayson. Nope, nope,
Give me 30 more seconds. Give me
nope, no
30 more
Grayson
seconds.
Allen. No, I'm ending it right now.
He is shooting 48% from the 3-point line and averaging almost 14 points a game on the
Okay.
Phoenix Suns, where he has to play with Aiton, Booker,
No, Aiden's not
Durant.
on there anymore.
Oh, he's not on there anymore?
No, it's Durant.
Well, yeah, Durant shoots 50 times a game. So, like, the fact that he's scoring 14 points a game,
This, he can do better. That's my never complimenting him.
career statistics, he is a 10.4 rebound. Like, he is, man, all respect to my favorite Duke basketball player, Grayson Allen. I'll be breaking
No.
out the Grayson Allen jersey for the start of March Madness. I haven't
You
worn
know
it
what?
all year.
Just for that, I hope you lose to Vermont on Friday. Just for bringing out the Grayson Allen shirt.
All right. So we'll be back possibly Sunday morning to do a
Hopefully in good
little
spirits.
do a little recap of what we've seen so far and a little hopefully a preview of Texas A&M and Duke's second round matchup.
Yeah.
All right. We'll see everybody then.